Okay, Sunday night. And I mean, for most people, Sunday be a rest day, but for me, it is arm day number 2 of the week. And it is nearly 6:30 at night. So I'm going to mix up my EAAs, which arrived in the post today. I bought 2 tubs of the Optimum Nutrition Amino Energy grape flavour, the Concord grape, the OG flavour, and just going to mix that up because it's a little bit more enjoyable than sipping water in your training session. Don't get me wrong, like if it's a real hot day and I'm sweating and I'm just thirsty, like water tastes amazing. And water would taste amazing tonight, but like grape flavoured water tastes even better in my opinion. So I'm going to have some EAAs in my water, and that will tie me over for the duration of the training session, I suppose. It's been a good day. I'm training quite late today, not because out of choice necessarily, but out of necessity. Aaron, his partner, Michaela, and I, we all got together and we went to a cafe today. It's called Husky Cafe, I believe, or something along the lines of that. And you literally go there to basically hug and pat husky puppies and husky dogs. I think it was like something stupid like 20 to 30 huskies there. So yeah, it was cool. We did that and grabbed some sushi just for like an off-plan meal. So I'm allowed 1 off-plan meal a week, and I have to just basically flexible diet it into my day usually. If I'm in like a surplus, sometimes I won't count it towards my macros for the day, but I'll still keep track that I had all my macros in addition to a off-plan meal. But because I'm in a mini cut, I'm working it into my macros for the day. In a deficit phase, I don't think you can really have a free-for-all and just have an off-plan meal. I think it's kind of stupid and counterproductive. If you're in a push-up phase, in a surplus, aiming to be in a calorie surplus and growing, it's not as much of an issue, especially when you've got a real high calorie expenditure like I do. In the off season when I'm trying to grow, not in a mini cut, my calories are usually anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. So I can afford to go over a few hundred one day out of the week and for it to not really budge anything or make a difference. But if you're, say, a 200-pound male and your maintenance calorie intake is 2,000 calories a day, then going a few hundred calories over is a pretty big deal. For me, it's like it might be, say, half the percentage of my total calories that it would be for you, or even less than that. So yeah, it's all relative to the individual, but enough kind of rambling on. I'm gonna mix up the EAA, so I won't record this because it'll be a pain in the ass. I have to use my hand as a funnel again, and yeah. But arm session, triceps first, then into biceps, and calves to finish off. I might even do a little bit of forearm work. I don't usually directly train forearms, but I mean, a lot of my forearm size is genetic, and also the fact that I used to do powerlifting and I would double overhand grip my deadlifts, and I could double overhand grip 6 plates, 7 plates even per side for reps. I think the best I ever did was 7 plates a side on deadlifts at 220 pound body weight for reps with no straps. So my grip strength is very strong, or it was very strong. It's not really anymore, to be honest, because I don't train it. But yeah, I think my forearms definitely developed a lot from that, and then also just the fact that I used to do construction work back in the day when I was like a lot younger. I say that as if I'm old now. I'm not old, but younger relative to how old I am now. And yeah, so a lot of that just gripping and moving and carrying stuff on site, and then pair that with deadlifting twice a week in the gym, you get pretty meaty forearms. But because I don't do that anymore, I work at a desk I have for several years, like as an online coach. I probably need to start prioritizing them and training them directly so I don't have any atrophy or muscle loss. So I might tag some of those on at the end, but it'll be triceps, biceps predominantly, and then after that, a little bit of calves and maybe some forearms. And I'll probably, depending on how I'm feeling, if my arms are feeling quite pumped, I might do the calves before the forearms, if I do forearms, as opposed to doing the forearms and then calves, because that way you kind of let that pump die down a little bit, and it won't cause your forearms or your wrists to like seize up when you're training forearms. Because I don't know about you, if I directly train forearms, it makes my hands lock up and they cramp, and it's all kinds of horrible. So yeah, I'll probably approach it like that essentially. But the bread and butter, the meat of the session, meat and potatoes of the session will be triceps and biceps, obviously being arm day. Yeah, see you guys in the gym. So I already did a warm-up set, diving into the first working set now. 3 of these. I got this weight, plate number 10, I think, for 19, 18, 18 last week. So if I can go as close to like 20 reps for all the sets, then that'll be a pretty big improvement on last week's session. But I did notice when I was warming up on that set that I did just before, that I felt like almost like a shooting feeling in my left elbow on the eccentric, on the negative portion. So I'll just have to play by ear, feel this first set out, and kind of gauge how hard I push myself today based on that. Because I mean, if I got a little bit of a tendon playing up at the moment, I don't want to push it to the point that I develop tendonitis or something along the lines of that. So yeah, you got to listen to your body. If you notice that your body's kind of speaking to you in a way, like when you start noticing niggles, that's your body's way of speaking to you and saying, dude, slow down, this is a bit messed up, or maybe you should rethink how you're doing this. And then modify and adjust what you're doing and see if you can put it at rest, or like, I suppose, mitigate that feeling by just altering how you're executing the movement. If you can't, then it might be a case of just backing off a little bit for a couple of weeks. Yeah, use that biofeedback from your body, take it on board, don't just ignore it and push through the pain. There's a difference between discomfort in training from like hard training and actual legitimate pain. If you're experiencing signs of legitimate pain, slow down a little bit. And if you can't tell the difference between the two, you need to just really focus on learning the difference between the two, because it's something that comes with becoming an experienced liftee. Like the longer you lift, the more experienced you get, the better you'll be able to discern and differentiate between what is in fact pain and what is just general discomfort from pushing yourself in an uncomfortable place while you're training, i.e. training hard, not training like a little bitch. So yeah. It was an ugly 20, but it was a 20 rep set nonetheless. Felt decent, like still felt the elbow a little bit, but it didn't feel as bad as a warm-up set. So that's always a good sign if it starts feeling better on the actual working sets than you did on the warm-up set. Might just be a case of you need to just warm up a little bit more, and once you get that blood flowing, it's fine. If it gets worse or it stays the same, then it might be a wise idea to just back it off a little bit for that session. So I actually noticed something a little bit interesting on that set. As I played around with what not my elbows were doing, but what my shoulders were doing. And if I didn't think about, on the negative, extending at the shoulder, so driving those elbows back, if I didn't think about that, driving the elbows back on the negative coming up, I noticed I experienced the elbow pain or discomfort more. However, if I did drive the elbows back on the way up, I didn't experience it as much. So if I kind of just stayed like this, I felt more elbow pain. Whereas if I drove my elbows back on the negative, it didn't feel as bad. So I'm going to make sure that I do that on the final set in a minute and just control the negative a little bit more. And it should be 100% pain-free. A few more. 16 down, at least 3 to go. Alright, so overhead tricep extensions now with the rip-off brand of the Vulcan. Onto overhead extensions now with the rip-off brand of the Vulcan grip attachment. It's not the legitimate, like, official Vulcan grip, but it's a rip-off brand of it, rip-off version. Same weight as last week, just aiming for rep PB. Now when I think about it, it's actually really funny. When I first started lifting, I used to hate training triceps. I think because I was so weak on it, like proportionately to my biceps. Like my biceps are so much stronger naturally than my triceps. And you know how it is when you start lifting, like you tend to gravitate towards or focus on and enjoy training the things that you're good at, because it's, I suppose, reaffirming of your ego. But as you get more experience, you learn to find joy in those things that you suck at. I think that's definitely something that's happened with me as I've matured as a lifter over the years. I've gravitated from enjoying the things that I naturally excel at in the gym to enjoying the things that I find extremely challenging and difficult. And I think a big part of that, and I owe a lot of, I suppose, credit to that and thanks to Ed Cohen for that. Because I remember speaking to him once and he said that he would basically find an exercise or a lift in the gym that he was incredibly weak on, and he would make it his mission to basically get strong on it. And that's how he approached a lot of his accessory work training is he'd do his main lifts and then his accessories would consist of all the things that he'd find that he was weak at, and he would just hammer away at them until he was very strong. And the idea behind it, the philosophical idea, is like eventually over time you have no weaknesses. But of course, when you make a weakness a strength, by default, like one of your former strengths become a weakness now, because it's like all relative. Like you can't just be your strongest everywhere. Like as soon as you get very strong in an area that you're once weak in, an area that you were very strong in but are now just strong in is now your weakness technically, if you get what I mean. So it's kind of like a constant cyclical process. Like you're constantly moving to those new weaknesses and trying to further them and progress them, and then by and large, several years down the track, all of a sudden everything is so much stronger, so much bigger, and you look back and you can see that progress. It's pretty cool when you think about it that way. But yeah, my triceps are finally growing, and go figure, it only happened when I started to just learn to find joy in the things that I suck at. Oh. So exact same exercise, exact same weight as last week, typical Groundhog Day, just aiming for a rep PB. So see what I got last week. Oh. I got 60 for 3 sets of 15. So I'm pretty sure they were rep match sets. So I had rest pause intervals on those last 2 sets to make that 15th rep possible on those 2 sets. So yeah, I'll do the same this week, rep match sets if I needed. But if I hit 15 for 3 sets again this week, or if I say hit 16 for one of the sets, I'll definitely be increasing the load next week. But I'll keep it the same this week. When I'm gonna escalate a weight, usually I'll wait 2 weeks. I'll try hit what basically the max reps are for a given weight for all the sets 2 weeks in a row. And if I do it 2 weeks in a row, I know it's not just by chance or by luck. I know I've like genuinely gotten strong enough on that lift to warrant increasing the weight. Because sometimes you can just have a really good session. And if that's the case, and you decide to escalate the weight the next week, you might not be feeling that great and you'll just severely underperform. So before you like increase the weight on an exercise, I definitely suggest that you stick at a certain weight until you get 2 consecutive weeks in a row where you max out the rep range for that exercise with the weight that you're using, with the load that you're using. And then once you've done that, the following week increase the load. Because there's nothing worse than kind of giving yourself false hope. Doing a week where you say hit 3 sets of 15 for a rep range of 12 to 15 at whatever weight is challenging, and then saying, all right, next week I'm going to go up, and you increase the weight next week, and you're having a shit day, maybe sleep wasn't that great, or maybe you didn't stay hydrated enough throughout the day, and you start doing your first set and you just gas out before you even hit the minimum number of reps. And then it fucks with your head because you've basically, in your mind, regressed, although you technically haven't regressed, you probably just got ahead of yourself essentially. So yeah, try hit 2 weeks in a row with all of your sets maxed out in the rep range with the load that you're currently at, and then increase the load the following week. Enough rambling, time for set number 1. So one thing that I didn't forget to do on that first set was I forgot to extend the wrists, so I could basically recruit the forearms a little bit less and the biceps a little bit more. So I'm going to do that on this set and then the final set as well. And then it'll be on to Bayesian curls, then calves and forearms if I feel like it. So yeah, almost done. Well, not really, halfway through the session pretty much. So one final set to go, and then onto the last bicep movement, the Bayesian curls. I'll probably use the other machine like I did in the last session, instead of the one that I've been using in quite a few of the previous arm training videos, because the other one, the cables were slightly closer together and it better matched my body's mechanics essentially. Felt like the cables were more in line with my shoulder width as opposed to being outside of my shoulder width, and I just felt better tension on the biceps as a result. So I'll probably do it on that. If you don't know what I mean, you'll see what I mean when I get to the next exercise, the next station per se. Yeah, drink a little bit of EAs because that's one thing I didn't do today. I didn't drink enough water. And a lot of it was due to being out of the house for a large portion of the day. I mean, we left home at 10:30 in the morning to go to the Husky Cafe with Aaron and Adriana. And yeah, a bit of a trip there. We walked to the SkyTrain station essentially. It's called the BTS, but it's a SkyTrain, or monorail if you want to think of it that way. We went there. Then we got that to the suburb that it was in. Then we caught a cab to the actual cafe because it was, I suppose, in some of the back roads, not near the actual station. We didn't want to walk. And yeah, I mean, we didn't get back until, I want to say, like 3:30 in the afternoon. So out a decent portion of the day. For that entire time, I only really had like a small bottle of water and a Coke Zero. So usually by training, by the time I hit the gym to train, I would have already drank about 4 litres of water, or just over a gallon. And I don't think I'm even up to that today yet, and it is literally nearly 7:30 at night. So well and truly dehydrated relative to what I normally drink on a daily basis. So probably why I'm feeling a little bit achy and sore too. All right, time for the final set. God. Done. This exercise at least. So this is the machine that I'm in. A bit different to the one that I normally use, obviously, but it's still going to serve the same purpose. It's just the arms of the machine, or whatever you want to call them, the actual pulleys are closer together, so it more naturally mimics my shoulder width than the other one. And I just get better tension through the actual bicep, through the entire exercise, entire range. Yeah, if I ever built a home gym, which I will eventually do one day, this is going to be like a staple piece of equipment. I'll have to find one of these because they're amazing. But I'm going to bump the weight up. It's a little bit too light. Oh. Forgot about the hammer curls. I've actually got hammer curls after this, before I do calves. I got ahead of myself before. So this is technically like the second and second last bicep exercise. If you count hammer curls as a bicep exercise, which is technically more of a brachialis exercise, but still, whatever. A little bit heavier this week, 45 kilos, so a good 9 kilo up. And I'll just aim for the lower end of the rep range, so like 10 to 12 instead of like 14 to 15. Two sets of these bad boys. Heavier today. Now normally if I go heavier and lower reps on these I do 3, but because I am training calves again tomorrow, 2 sets will tie me over until then. Will suffice, I should say. Yeah. Okay, so one more set of these with calves and forearms, I find, because I will do some forearms next. They're feeling pretty good now that the pump in my arms is worn off a little bit. So I'll probably do some like wrist curls on the cable machine, just 2 burnout sets. And I know it might seem a little bit odd, like I'm training calves and forearms very differently to how I train any other part of my body, like any other muscle group. And it's not because I think that they're any less important or that you don't have to take them seriously. When I'm training my forearms or my calves, I'm still training them just as hard as I train any other body part. And I think you really have to make sure that you're doing that, because just because they're predominantly a slow twitch muscle group doesn't mean that they need to be approached completely different in terms of how you train them. In fact, I think it's a big part of the reason why a lot of people have small forearms and small calves is they lack the effort that they bring to training those muscle groups in comparison to, say, something that they enjoy training, like the vanity muscles, chest or the biceps. You watch young guys train biceps or chest, they usually train with a high level of effort, going close to, if not to failure. And if they're not a complete fucking moron, which, I mean, it's 50-50, there's a lot of morons out there, but there's also a lot of people that aren't morons. They will slow and control the movement, they'll slow it down, focus on getting a good concentric squeeze, a good slow eccentric, good negative, I mean, and then, yeah, basically just get close to failure in that kind of a form of execution. But yeah, if you're not doing that, you're not going to see the growth that you want to see. So yeah, take your calf training and your forearm training seriously. But I think because, especially if you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to be as competitive as possible, sure, they contribute to the overall look, so it's therefore important to train calves and forearms, but they don't necessarily get directly marked and graded towards your scoring in a competition. So in that, like, you can be a little bit more intuitive and instinctive with your approach to training them and how you delegate your volume out for the week, and be a little bit more auto-regulated with it. Like, if you're feeling really under the weather, don't train them one day. If you're feeling fresh, train them. You can train them a lot more frequently, I think, due to their slow twitch muscle fiber composition. Like, they're predominantly slow twitch fibers, therefore they recover very quickly. They have a very high work capacity. Enough rambling though. Final set. No length and partials because I'm training them again tomorrow. No need to absolutely destroy my calves and obliterate them if I'm going to hit them again in less than 24 hours. But yeah, on to forearms now.